Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next episode of the Unbreakable Her Podcast, where we make space for the stories of resilient women. Today, our guest is somebody that I just met. Just kidding, just kidding, just kidding. Someone I've known all of my life before I knew what life was, before there was life for me. My mother, the one and only Leslie Sterling. My sister sometimes calls her Lydia. And if we have any Steve Harvey Show fans, it's from Lydia Liza Gutman. I don't know why she started calling my mom Lydia. I have no idea actually. But it is funny. Anyway, we're gonna chat. So thanks for being here, Mom.
You're very welcome.
Hello. So full transparency, we were just kind of kicking around how we wanted to do the episode because her story is long, and she just celebrated her 61st birthday. So she was saying that, well, she's 61 years old. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. But also her story was long and vast and robust at 22. So there's just a lot that we could talk about. But we were recently having a conversation about her and how I believe, and I think she certainly co-signs this, like she could tell you, that she has a gift of helping people, specifically helping people who need help to care for themselves. So like children, right? Because they always need help to care for themselves. But also she has been in the human services industry for decades at this point, and she has a gift of working with developmentally challenged people, but specifically adults. I will frame our conversation around something that I told her that she said to me. This was from it had to be at least 10 years ago. She was telling me, I was talking to her, just called her one day, and she said, well, she sounded a little upset. And I was like, well, what's wrong? She was like, these people are getting on my nerves. And I was like, wait, what happened? And so she told me that she had taken her clients, her developmentally challenged clients of all levels. Like it could be that they're super high functioning or less high functioning and nonverbal. He's run the gamut and worked with all levels of that population. So she was telling me that she took her clients to breakfast, and it was in a popular restaurant chain. And while they were there were people, other patrons, who were like pointing and laughing and scoffing at her clients. And she raised her voice to say, is there something I can help you with? You are not going to treat them like they don't deserve to be here. And so she just kind of went off on this, almost a soapbox of like, they deserve to go out and eat. They're not bothering anybody. Deserve to be treated well. And I said that to her. This was literally like a couple of days ago. That is something that she's always going to do. She's always going to say, you don't speak to me just because I'm here helping them. Like, talk to them. They are people. And so she starts with treating them like people herself, and then forces, literally, you are going to treat them like people if you're around her. And so I think that is it is a gift, and it's something that when you work with that population, if you don't have it, then you won't be as kind and compassionate as you should be when working with them. And so I thought it would be a good place it was actually her idea. So, but I'm thinking about how to frame it. Where does that come from? Again, we want to talk about, your resilience and a lot of the things that you've come through, but we can kind of go backwards a little bit and just say, like, have you always felt like you were pulled in the direction of helping people who need help?
And I believe it definitely stemmed from, I'm a product of the foster care system. Being in the foster care system, I was young, and so things happened and didn't know what was going to happen to you as a child. I was from 2 to 5. I was in the system. Once I came out, you went to different foster homes, and it was kind of sort of, you had to survive, but I didn't know how to survive. I didn't know, because I was a kid, I was young. But I remember, I know we talked about my mom briefly once before, but I remember my mom literally one day, I used to get beat up by this girl like literally every day. And my mom just got tired of it. And I think there has to be a Black mom that everybody knows and say, okay, either you're going to beat her or I'm going to beat you. Well, I didn't want my mom to beat me. So I went and I literally beat her up, and it surprised me because I didn't know that I could do it. But now I'm going to beat her, or my mama going to beat me, and I didn't want mama's beating. And so when I beat her up, and I was like, oh, so that was literally the first time that I you know, fought for myself. And it's like, I can do this. And so growing up, I was that one that I was always saying, no, you're not gonna hit her, or you're not gonna touch her, you're not gonna, and I would come over here with me. And I think that my daughter can attest to this. I was that mom, their friends' moms were bringing home stray cats. I was bringing home stray people. I mean,
Bruh.
and I was always saying to them, hey, come sleep with mommy this because Miss such and such and her daughter has to stay here and things of that nature. So I was always trying to help people. And I didn't know where it stemmed from now, like even talking it out now. Um, but I just think that I always wanted people to be happy. And I really don't know. I didn't go in saying, "Okay, I'm just gonna be in the human service." So actually, I went back to school after my children had gotten older. I went back to college. I remember I was just I wanted just a liberal arts degree just to say that I have a degree. And I remember one of my professors saying to me, like, "You have this," and she kept saying like this thing, and I was like, "Lady, spit it out." But she was like, "I want you to talk to this other professor about behavioral health and human services." And I was like, what is that? I literally did not know what it is. But then I started loving the classes. I started loving the whole thing about it because it's so broad. But then when I got to learn about them, yeah, that they were born like that, but it didn't mean that they didn't get to be, respected. They didn't, we have to treat them with dignity. We have to, treat them with love, just loving on them and helping them, be able to go to day program or out to the movies or something like that, smelling good, looking good, being dressed nicely. Like you want to dress kind of nicely. You want your hair cut and things of that nature. So I grew to love it. And I'm 32 plus years in, and I'm still learning, so many different things. And even when people come in to this is their first stint at, working in the field, I feel blessed to be able to say to them, be able to ask me anything. And I don't think that I am the end all that knows all of it, but I do know a lot of it. I know a lot about it. And so for me, I do believe that it is a gift, and I wouldn't take this for anything in the world, the long shifts, the double shifts, the weekend shifts, the being stuck, all of that comes with it. I'm just grateful. And now I'm in a position to help others to get to learn about there's some amazing individuals that I have grown to love down through the years some of them, like even like at the holidays and things, we are their family. So I'm that one. My goodness, Thanksgiving, Christmas, their birthdays, like, they know that I'm coming full force, just like they were a family member. And I love it because I love people. I love people and I want to see people shine. And it all goes back, believe it or not, just even in this conversation, I didn't know I was going to go there, but it goes back to my mom. Even when she told me that I had to go beat her, or she was going to beat me, I had to learn to do that because I was the underdog at the time. So I had to fight for myself. And so they don't get to fight for themselves. And so I can do that for them.
You actually circled back beautifully because bring I was gonna bring us back to that. The fact that I don't want to skip over that your sort of gift and the emergence of this desire to help people started with your desire to want to stand up for them started with you learning how to stand up for yourself, which is like I think is a really powerful, it's very powerful. So you mentioned the specific situation around this one person who was your bully for a long time. But even before that, or are there other situations that you could point to or think about where um, you either didn't know how to stand up for yourself, or like if you think back now, like, oh yeah, I really didn't know how to stand up for myself in that situation, or were there situations where people like kind of taught you to not stand up for yourself, if you know what I mean? I don't know if I'm asking the question well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. School was not, now I liked going to school because I liked people, but back then, I'm gonna say back then, because I don't want to say that kids are cruel because all kids aren't cruel. But back then they were cruel. I had a lot of other things against me. I was very thin, very, very skinny, light complected, and I got the name, they would call me Big Bird. I was tall. I was always tall. They would call me Big Bird. And then because I was a product of the foster care system, my siblings, we would say we were brothers and sisters because we lived together, but we had different last names, so they always teased us. And once people understood why our last names were different, and they treated us so badly. But my siblings seemed to, I'm not gonna say they were okay with it. They handled it differently. They handled it differently. And so for me, because I was all, and I know, of course, you understand things as you get older. I was a people pleaser back then, and I just wanted to be everybody's friend because I wanted to play with you. I wanted to play with this. And when we didn't have a lot, but when we had show and tell, sometimes I would take the same thing because I didn't have a lot. And I got teased and I got picked on because of that. But it was really my favorite thing. They didn't realize, well, they didn't know that it was because I didn't have a lot, but it was my favorite thing. So yeah, I had all these things that I felt, I was teased because of, and then as I got older and understood, even though you were, this tall person, and they said that they called me Big Bird, like, oh, and so full disclosure, I didn't like Sesame Street because of Big Bird. And I felt bad because Big Bird he got that, and it wasn't even his fault, but I didn't like Big Bird. But I didn't like Big Bird. But so,
Wait, okay, wait a minute. I'm not supposed to be laughing at that. But I just want to say, shout out to you for not depriving us of Sesame Street. I just want to say thank you for not
yeah, because
for
I mean,
for being selfless and not
yeah,
letting us watch.
yeah, like Big Bird.
And before
But
you go on, if there's
yeah.
anybody else, I probably would not be laughing, but I'm sorry, that's funny. Go ahead.
But yeah, so I mean, just the name calling, and that's why now it's I feel like anybody that I see that's being bullied, even in this, I'm in 2026, like children are still being bullied. And I step up, man. I know you guys usually say, "Mom, somebody's gonna." No, somebody's not gonna. God has always protected me. I guess is the beginning of wanting to help and support people, and that's where Women of Excellence came in, where we service victims of domestic violence. But I do remember a time, even with mommy, I went to pick her up, to take her to the store or something, I don't know. And right on her street, this guy was like going for this woman, and she was like, "Stop, stop." Put my mom in the car, and I went over to her. And I said, "Are you okay?" He started cussing me out. And I said, "Nobody's talking to you." I said, "Are you okay?" And she said, "No." So I pulled my cell phone out and I called the police. And he was like, "You need to mind your effing." And I was okay. I'm standing right. So I stood in front
Mhm,
of her. And when the cops came, I
mhm.
went on and mind my business. I got in the car, and my mom said, I never forget that's so funny how God brought that back to my remembrance. She said, Mommy said she's gone to the conferences and she's heard me talk about women of excellence, but she's never seen me. Ah, sorry. But she had never seen me in action, she said. Never seen you in action.
Mhm,
And so I think it was a proud moment for her too. She said, I want you to be careful. I just want you to be
mhm,
careful. Um, I never
mhm,
think about myself in that moment because my faith goes into action first. I trust that God brings these things to me. I've never, and I say it by the grace of God, whenever I'm put into a situation, I'm never harmed. God has always protected me. We were always able to get them out of the situations. And so our goal is to always support and help, where we can. It's not just about, saying, you can do better, but we help them. If you're hungry, and I'm telling you, I'm going to give you this scripture, you can do all things through Christ, but your stomach is still grumbling. You still need to eat. I got to
mhm,
feed you. I have to feed you natural food. Then I can feed you the word of God. But showing the love of God, I feel like is so important because some people ain't never read the Bible. So I'm throwing
mhm,
out these scriptures to you. What does that mean, ma'am? So with my love for people,
mhm,
whether they're disabled or whatever, showing them the love of God. And like I said, feeding them and giving them toiletries and things like that. Oh my goodness. Outreach is my heart. Ministry for me is out in the streets. Ministry for me, what do you need? We're going to help you do this, but loving on people and helping them to be better and helping them recognize and understand that they don't, not only can they get out of that situation, we'll help them do that, get them the resources and things like that, but helping them to know that not that you're going to be somebody, you already are somebody.
So what I want to do is, because this is something that I've always said about you, it's something that has always stood out to me about you. I want you to take us back a little bit. So we know that Graham got you when you were 5, right?
Yes.
Before that, you did mention that being in um foster care and that you had been in other homes. So I want you to share some of what you experienced
Mhm.
in foster care prior to basically like your forever home
So, yeah,
or your
for
permanent home, I should say.
my earliest memory, I remember I had to have been about maybe 2 years old. And I always think about 2-year-olds because I love I love babies. And I think about when they don't want something, they don't want something. And so I remember I just didn't want it, and I got in trouble for it. I got a spanking. And of course, then I didn't know what that. I just knew I was being, and then the next couple of days, but I didn't recognize I'm 2 years old. So I don't know that, okay, so if I need to eat the next thing, and I just didn't. 2 years old. What 2-year-old do you know just like everything? Not many. They like what they like. They like a French fry. Give me a French fry, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They like whatever it is that they like. And I remember that I was put in a closet. I was put in a closet. And I remember them saying, wasting this food. Who do you think you are? Things of that nature. I'm 2 years old. And when I was in the foster care system, I had a suitcase that I carried with me. I don't know who gave it to me. Somebody gave it to me, but it was mine. But because I was moved so often, it was mine and it was with my stuff. And, I just always wanted it. I cried for it when they put me in the closet. I remember crying. I just want my case. I want my crazy is coming right back. I want my case. I want my case. And I was in there, I don't know how long. It was the longest, maybe it was 10 minutes, but it was the longest 10 minutes of my life. I remember crying, crying, crying. And so at that point, I just knew that I had to do what they said, but I didn't know what that was. I was 2. I was
Mm,
2, but I remember getting beat. I remember the punishments. I remember early punishment that I got. And I was about 4. And this is another foster home. And so I was about 4 years old and I said no, 4 years old. And they took a clothespin and they closed my navel with it and told me that was my whooping or that was my punishment. And they told me that, it had nothing to do with a punishment. It had nothing to do with the fact that I didn't want to go somewhere. I think I didn't want to go somewhere, something like that. So I'm saying all this, I'm using this because these are the traumas that had that I struggled with and I didn't understand it. I remember when I got to my mom, I know that I felt the love, but all I knew was I felt the love in the beginning. Then they started beating me and they started doing this, they started doing that. But it was different. It was different. She talked to me. She laughed with me and she would ask me things like, you want to take your things out of your case? No, I called it a case. It was my case. It was a suitcase, but I called it a case. And I remember, I think I said no for about a year. I was like, because you couldn't tell me that I was about to
wow.
move and go somewhere else. But she didn't force me to take the things out of my case. And it was the start of her love that I believe that it started my resilience. Let me tell you why. Because now I'm thinking about, okay, so I'm in a place where, okay. Now, I'm not going to say this. Now, she wasn't a whoop, like she didn't whoop you, like if you didn't. I was little, but she was very stern. She would give you the finger. It's like, go sit down or do what I told you to do or something like that. She was very firm, but it helped me. It helped me, like I said, it was the beginning of my resilience because I realized that, okay, if I do what I'm supposed to do, then okay, I can get out of this. I'll do better. I'll do better next time. And then I remember the day I remember like it was yesterday, and she asked me, did I want her to help me take the things out of my case? And I said yes. And we did it together. And we took it out. Okay. And we took it out together and we put it in the drawer. And then I remember we put my case away. And she explained to me that it was for when I would go out or when we went on a trip or something. My case was, oh, Father, I thank you. My case was my security blanket. It was mine. It was mine. And it was my security blanket. But she started showing me how to love, I guess, because she loved me. She talked to me. And I think that that's where I talk to people even when I don't understand them. That's where I feel like the resilience has come in to help me to be better from that situation to the next situation. And you grow from it all and knowing and learning. And I learned about loving people even when they're not when they don't feel as though they're lovable. Because remember, now I had all these people that said, "Oh, we're gonna take care of you," and they were supposed to love you. So now I'm thinking that I'm not lovable, and it's the thing
Mm.
that helped, and it goes with you. It goes with you. It's a spirit of rejection, and as much as I wanted to do better and get better and things of that nature, but how she loved me helped me on the process of loving myself. So loving myself helped me to love other people.
So okay. Again, you helped me kind of transition right into what I was going to ask. The reason why I wanted you to share, and that really is just the tip of the iceberg of some of the things that you experienced in foster care. But one of the reason why I wanted you to share some of that is because I've always said that I do not understand how a person that has experienced so much harm from people, starting with being given up by your birth mother, and then just thing after thing after thing where people harmed you, like actively and intentionally. I do not understand how a person who has experienced that, can so intentionally and actively seek to give love to other people. And I understand God. I understand up here, but in here, like emotionally, I don't get it. I don't get it. Because how is it possible? How is it possible to experience so much of people being like, you're not, you can't, let me hit you, let me abuse you, let me bully you, from the adults the one who gave birth to you, all the way through to, the people who were tasked by the state to care for you. So, like, for me, I've never understood. It has never clicked for me how you actively and intentionally want love, and well, not want, because I guess that's a human thing, but seek to give it. Have you ever thought about, like, how and why, even though you've experienced all of those things, you still want to give love to your family, to the closest person to you, as much as to the farthest person, the person that's farthest away?
And the answer to that is I had to make a decision. Now, I'm never going to say that it was an easy one. Think I think it was between Amanda and Junie, where I had to make the decision that because I had these failed relationships and I always thought it was my fault. I was like, what is wrong with me? And then I had these amazing babies, you, your sister. And I think I maybe have been pregnant with Junie or he wasn't here yet, but in order to love you guys, I couldn't allow everything that everybody did to me to to be the thing for me. Does that make sense? I could not allow how they made me feel be who because I had now these amazing babies that I was responsible for. And so I made the decision to choose to love you guys, to choose to not just love you guys, but I always wanted to be a role model. We talk about it all the time, but didn't do too good in the beginning. but, but nevertheless, I wanted to be a role model. I wanted to be um, positive. I wanted to be. And that too, I didn't know how to be positive. A lot of stuff that I did in my life because there was so much negativity, I worked hard at it and I got there. I got there. And I go back to my mom. I say that because she was a matter of fact. Like she wouldn't let me talk about your dad's negativity. She was like, they'll learn them. That's what she said. She said, "They would learn them. You don't be the one to talk down." And I didn't like that. I mean, I felt
Mm,
like I would have I think I would have felt better talking about them bad. She wouldn't let me. She wouldn't let me do things that at that time, I guess it would just make me feel better. But what would be the outcome of that? Just me feeling better, like for that little bit of time. But who I would hurt my children in doing that. And so she was the best role model for me. And I said all the time, of course, she wasn't perfect, but she was perfect for me. She was the perfect mom for me. And no nobody gonna take that from me. Now that's when the neck could start rolling. Like, don't that she was the perfect mom for me. I believe that it was strategic. Romans 8:28 is my 8 and 28 is my life scripture. And we know all things work together for the good of them that love the Lord, who are called according to his purpose. And I believe that because I believe that he strategically placed me with my mom because it's my all thing. It is my all thing that is working together and it works for my good and it's still working for my good. But the nuggets that she dropped are nuggets that I live by. I'm 61 years old and I still take her nuggets to heart because I believe them to be facts. But she was the epitome of love as far as I'm concerned. She is the epitome of love. She took a child in who was messed up because by the time she got me, I needed help and support. And, at that time they had what they call, the therapists, but they weren't child therapists. They weren't therapists who were specific to children to help in
mm.
what we needed. And so they tried to help as much as they could. But like I said, they had them and she wanted me to get everything that I could get, everything that agency had to offer me. And it, like we went to overnight camp, just things that she wanted us to have, things that would help us. But she took this girl in who struggled. I struggled with my identity. I struggled with the fact that I was supposed to be here. I struggled with, because people, like I said, children were cruel. Your own mother don't want you. That's stuck in here. Can you imagine people saying your own mother doesn't want you? And she would look at me and she said, "But I do want you." But I mean, she knew what they meant, and I knew what they meant. But what she said was powerful. So it's just, and I feel like that's why it's so important when the word of God says that death and life is in the power of the tongue. You can kill somebody with your tongue, you can build them up. And so it's important for me to always speak life. It's important for me to do empowerment. That's important to me because that's what saves my life. So, I'm grateful for this opportunity and opportunities more to come, that people get to know and understand that we can be resilient and we can, it's about positive thinking. It's work to be done. We have to do work, but I'm just grateful that, I didn't know that I was going to be this person that people call me, they text me, inbox, "Can we talk? Can you help me? I know that you've experienced this." And I'm just grateful. In this time right now, I'm grateful.
So to button us up, kind of what I am taking from this session, which is probably one of many, but I asked the question or I stated like, it never made sense to me that that you could experience the absolute abject cruelty of humans and still want to give love to humans. That just has never made sense to me. But what it sounds like is you experience the worst of humanity, but experiencing the love of Graham, of your mother, actually overcame the worst of humanity. And so there is
100%.
the power of experiencing love that then it was powerful enough for you to want to replicate that for other people, specifically for people who didn't have it, who hadn't experienced it, who really needed it the most, who need it the most. So that's a really powerful trajectory of understanding about why you are the way you are and that moment of coming into contact with love, specifically with your mother's love who, got you out of foster care, adopted you, took care of you, but that is an extension of God's love. And so for you to be able to say, I definitely experience like as bad as it can be and the things that people can do and say and the ways that they can treat a child. I experienced all of that, but also love. And that's the one I chose because there are a lot of people who experience both and choose the former. They're like, "Oh yeah, everybody treating me bad. I'm gonna treat everybody bad too."
Yeah.
And I wouldn't, and I don't begrudge them. You know what I'm saying? But you spoke earlier about that choice. Yeah, I think that's a powerful thread to recognize that experiencing how you've walked through your life is really the choice to lean into love when you didn't necessarily have to be able to. Yeah, like I think that's the triumph. Yeah, so that's really powerful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And again, like I said, I think this is one of many because you do have other parts of your story. I think the next part I want to talk about is single parenthood. You know what? Not single parenthood, teenage parenting, because our lives were tough. Like it was hard because you were a teenage mom. We were very close in age, and so that made parts of our life hard. I will agree with that. Also, you are 61 and you can be buddies with your grandchildren because you're so young. Meanwhile, I'm over here, gave birth at 39. That was a dumb idea because my knees hurt. Okay. My back hurts. I'm tired. I'm aggravated, right? Like I don't have the youth and the vitality that you had at 16 and 18 and however old you were when Greg was born. Like, I don't have that. My patience is short. I'm irked all the time. I'm like an old lady
But then you
and
look
I'm
at
irked
that
and my son is
beautiful
5.
face.
Okay.
Then you
So
look at that beautiful face and you say, "Oh, it was all worth it."
he still be irking me. Okay. So I think that is the place that I definitely want to talk about the fact that I really don't think that teenage pregnancy is as bad. I don't think it's all bad. I put it to you like that. I think it's some good. So I would say that's going to be our next conversation that we have. But thank you.
You're so
And
welcome.
yeah, do you want to tell people where they can follow you on social media?
Sure. Facebook, I am Leslie Sterling. Instagram, what am I? Woman. I think what am I? Woman, I think. Yeah, Woman on Instagram. And I don't know the rest of them, y'all, but Facebook is where you're going to find me the most. So, yes, that's where you're going to find me
Yeah,
the
you can be
most.
on Facebook. Facebook for the
Yes,
elders in the church.
whatever. So,
Okay.
you can find me on Facebook every Friday and Monday morning at 7:30 on Car Chronicles with Les, where I'm giving you 15 minutes of empowerment. To God be the glory. So, thank you so much.
Sweet. Thanks, Mom. Love you.
You're welcome. Love your daughter.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this episode. We will see you next time. Until then, stay unbreakable.